At it again, and one of my top five-ish, probably four-ish candidates for the next president, well, the president after Trump in 2028, Byron Donalds took a trip to the Breakfast Club, which we have talked about the Breakfast Club before with Charlemagne and DJ Envy, mainly talking about Charlemagne typically, but he took a trip to the Breakfast Club and absolutely embarrassed him. He embarrassed him. In spectacular fashion. Now, I want you guys to notice something. Pay attention to something. Pay attention to how this woman by the name of Angela Rye, how whenever she gets embarrassed, she always tries to change the subject. She always tries to change the subject and talk over him the entire time. And then we'll get into some other things after this. But without further ado, let's dive in.
Question, right?
Yeah.
So, I want to go back a little bit. So you were arrested before for marijuana.
Yeah.
You're arrested for bank fraud.
Yeah.
You're also of Caribbean descent.
Yeah.
Jamaican.
Yeah.
When you hear Donald Trump talk about some of the other brothers that were arrested and taking out that full ad in the paper, or you hear them talking about Haitian people eating dogs and cats, you still stand by them and what they believe, and if you do, why?
Well, a couple things.
Because you were given a second chance, because like you should have been, but
yeah.
Why do you still stand by them if you do?
Well, I think.
Well, before he gets into it, I think it's interesting how he set up that question. Trying to bring up dirt on Byron, right? Which I just found out that he had committed some crimes in the past, which I don't care, right? I literally just found that out probably 6 months ago. But it reminds me of this quote that I read once a while ago. I don't remember who said it. If you know where it came from, let us all know in the comment section. But it went like this. It said, when they can't touch who you've become, they'll try to destroy who you used to be. And that's what that quote, that's what that question, the way he set up that question, it made me think of that quote, because it was like, why do you need to bring up that? It's almost like I'm going to throw you under the bus kind of situation. Like, I got you. I did my research on you. Like, okay. And, because I've heard people ask him this question before and it wasn't set up that way. So he could have set it up in a much different fashion. But that made me think of that quote. When they can't touch who you've become, they'll try to destroy who you used to be. But let's continue.
You also got to acknowledge that when he was president, he also did the First Step Act, which undid a lot of the issues with the 94 crime bill.
Facts. That
a lot of politicians, including the current president, were for. He undid that when he was president of the United States. I think second chances are important in society. I think everybody's afforded them. What happened with the Central Park Five, I was probably 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade when that was going down in New York.
Yep.
I can't really speak to that, but what I also
it was all over the paper.
I know it was everywhere. You couldn't escape it.
We were around the same age, so we seen it everywhere.
You couldn't escape it. Mm-hmm. But what I would also add is that in 2000, Donald Trump was a member of the Reform Party. Most people don't talk about this. He was a member of the Reform Party. When David Duke joined the Reform Party, he left, and he famously said, "I can't be associated with that party because they let David Duke come in. That man is a Klansman." When he bought Mar-a-Lago, he desegregated Mar-a-Lago. But at the time when he bought it, only white people were allowed in Mar-a-Lago. He desegregated that, allowed black people and Jewish people to be a part of Mar-a-Lago. So I think that when you start going down the road of the past, you have to take a man in his totality. I know the man today. And then when you couple that with the economic policies, the energy policies, the foreign policy, we have to acknowledge the reality that in the world today, the United States is in the midst of two conflicts, not directly, but indirectly. We just sent troops over into the Middle East because of the growing conflict with our ally Israel having to essentially secure its sovereignty and its protection from Hezbollah and Hamas. Well, when Donald Trump was president, we didn't have to do any of that. So I acknowledge the stuff that you're talking about that happened in the past, but I think you have to take a man on the full record. And when he was president, he did release a lot of black people from prison. He did that. He did try to reform some of the criminal justice system. He did that as well. And so that work is just as important as something that he might have said back during the Central Park Five.
I acknowledge the First Step Act, but when you said he undid the 94 crime bill, what do you mean?
What I mean is that the reforms in the First Step Act undid in part some of the issues in the 94 crime bill. Not totally. Mm-hmm. Not totally. It dealt with the sentencing of those people who either had their sentences reduced or were released, and their convictions were in line with the 94 crime bill and the way criminal statutes were written during that under that piece of legislation.
And his
That's what I'm
thoughts
saying.
on the whole
Hold
Haitians
on.
eating.
Go ahead, Angela. What's that?
Oh, what's up, Angela?
Sorry, just on this same point, you talked about taking the man in his totality.
Yeah.
So one of the
Just wait for it, y'all. Here we go. Buckle up. It's about to go downhill real fast from here.
those things in his totality is what happened on January 6th, which was your first term in Congress.
Yeah.
Do you think he should be held accountable? Donald Trump should be held accountable for his role in the January 6th insurrection?
Well, I mean, listen, first of all, I would tell you that everybody's responsible for their own actions. Just like I'm not going to blame friends or blame anybody else for the things I've done wrong in my life, I'm not going to put that on him. I'm not going to run around and blame Bernie Sanders for the fact that Steve Scalise was shot. Because if you go back and look at when Steve Scalise, who's the current leader in the House of Representatives, who almost died at a congressional baseball practice. Hold on, I'm going to explain this. So I'm going to come back to January 6th.
Yeah, please do.
No, I will, of course. The shooter that almost killed Steve Scalise, the Republican leader, he said vehemently that the reason why he went to the congressional baseball practice of Republicans to shoot it up was because he felt that Republicans were going to take away health care. And what he had heard in his rhetoric was that was dangerous and these Republicans had to be stopped. So I'm going to translate that to January 6th. The shooter is the one that perpetrated that crime. I'm not going to put that on Bernie Sanders, who he cited for the rhetoric around why he went to the congressional baseball practice. And that's a shooter that almost killed Steve Scalise. Let me translate. Donald Trump authorized 10,000 National Guard troops. I'm on the oversight committee. He actually authorized 10,000 troops on January 4th, 2 days before January 6th, obviously. So if you're going to say that you incited an insurrection, then how are you also going to authorize 10,000 National Guard troops to be at the Capitol? Are you inciting or are you not? Because the record is he authorized the troops. Nancy Pelosi and Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., did not want the troops at the Capitol. Muriel Bowser signed a letter on January 5th wanting the National Guard troops to be on traffic duty in D.C. Now, here's the funny thing about January 5th, 2021, is that nobody was in D.C. because D.C.'s rules around COVID-19 had the entire city shut down. The streets were empty during this time. So the National Guard that was authorized by Donald Trump were on traffic duty when there was no traffic, when they could have been at the Capitol. That's the history of January 6th. So your question is, well, did he incite a riot? Well, I never seen somebody incite a riot.
What I said,
Angela,
and I don't want to cut you off.
I'm going to make one point. I'm going to make one point. I don't want to cut you off.
No, but I want to make sure that you're addressing the right point, because I actually did not use that language. What I asked you was, should Donald Trump be held accountable for his role in January 6th? And so what I think is important is to compare this to Steve Scalise being shot after someone wanted health care versus the rhetoric, the very dangerous rhetoric that Donald Trump spouted on January 6th, where more than 1,200 people have been charged in nearly all 50 states for their role, and 140 police officers were assaulted. The same police officers that your party has said they want qualified immunity for, and Donald Trump, because we're looking at the totality of the person, has said they should have full immunity, right? And when you think about the number of police officers who would get full immunity for their role in killing and being violent with people in our community like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Charlene Lyles, Manny Ellis. Is that really the kind of rhetoric that you want to push, especially at the Breakfast Club?
Well, hold on a second, Angela, because you brought in like 4 different topics now. Do you want to talk about
No, I
Trump?
didn't. What I brought in was January 6th responsibility, police accountability, and I used examples of why they should be held accountable. But you talked about how fantastic he was with the crime bill, which I object, but I'll let you finish your point.
Fair.
You also have not acknowledged the fact that this man was vehemently opposed to the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And you all are supposed to be the party that protects law enforcement, where over 150 police officers were assaulted that day on January 6th because of Donald Trump's rhetoric.
Okay, so let me respond to a couple things. Number one, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. There were actually 2 bills that were moving through the United States Senate that year. There was the George Floyd Policing Act that you discussed, and there was the bill that was written by Senator Tim Scott. They were both moving through the Senate, right? The Tim Scott bill is the one that could have got signed into law. It was essentially a mirror image of the George Floyd bill, except for qualified immunity. The difference between those two bills, and Angela, you just acknowledged it, the only difference between those two bills was qualified immunity. The issue with qualified immunity is very simple. If you remove qualified immunity from policing, you're going to have less officers on the street. Police officers make what? $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year. They have most law enforcement has about 40 million or more encounters every single year with citizens. If you remove qualified immunity, I'm telling you this right now because I've talked with law enforcement officers all across the country, not the chiefs, the officers. They will not be working these communities. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm from Crown Heights, Brooklyn. I may not have always loved having the police in my neighborhood, and that's just a thing from a kid. I may not have always loved it, but when I needed them, they were there. And a lot of our officers today, they're black, they're Hispanic, they're white. So removing qualified immunity only lowers the number of officers in communities. What we're seeing right now is a movement of policing from states where they're not really respecting law enforcement to states where they do, or there's not that moral support for law enforcement. I was in my district yesterday. I was talking with an officer who's from Philadelphia. He was a Philadelphia officer. He now is a Fort Myers officer. I asked him, I was like, well, why'd you make the move? He goes, because up there was no support for me as an officer for what I love to do, which is serve my community. So I said, enough is enough. I'm gonna move. He went to Florida. My sheriff in Florida, he's like, I have more applications coming from officers who are in states or in localities where they're not getting the moral support or whatever they need to continue to do their job day in, day out. And so they're leaving. Well, who does that hurt? That hurts. Who does that really hurt, though, Charlamagne?
Yeah,
because if you don't have officers if you don't have officers on the streets or officers, in urban areas, who's really left in that lurch?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what does qualified immunity have to do with having less police officers?
Because the economic incentive of qualified immunity means that your personal assets aren't gone after if something goes wrong. So, you're in business. Do you get involved in a project or a deal that leaves you massively exposed financially? You may, depending on your passion for that project, but then you also sit back and think, now, wait a minute, if something goes wrong, I'm going to be held massively liable. Maybe I need to do something else with my life.
Something goes wrong, we're talking about people getting violently hurt or killed.
Yeah, clearly.
And I named people that you brushed over.
But it's when somebody clearly violates a constitutional right.
And when you violate a constitutional right, qualified immunity doesn't apply to you. And that's what I'm talking about. It does not. And Angela, don't do that. It does not. I thought that was the definition. I thought that was the definition. No, it does not.
I thought that was the definition.
No, it does not. If you carry yourself outside of the confines of your training and the protocols of that department, qualified immunity doesn't apply to you. It does not.
That's not true.
That is very true. That is very true.
That is patently
false. It's patently
Perfect.
true, and we need to make sure we have that accurate. We cannot make that statement because you have a lot of officers out here who do their job with honor and dignity and respect for the people that they serve.
Listen, qualified immunity is a legal doctrine that protects government officials from civil lawsuits when they perform their jobs unless they clearly violate a constitutional right.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And
Bro, Charlamagne just pulled it up and just fact-checked Angela Rye right there on the spot and literally just repeated what Byron Donalds was saying. Like, if you go outside of your official duties as a police officer or violate someone's constitutional rights, no, you don't have qualified immunity. Sorry, gone. But within everything within it, yeah, you got qualified immunity, and rightfully so. But if you step outside of that, we can't have police officers just walking around just popping people. Like, what kind of society is that? So, it's just common sense that qualified immunity wouldn't allow police officers to say, you know what? I'm having a bad effing day. Wow. What? Just logically, that doesn't even make sense. But of course, you got these deranged folks who have this Trump derangement syndrome, and it's just like scrambled their brains or something, It's crazy. It's crazy work out here, man. I'm telling you. Stay safe, y'all.
what is a violation of that right is when they're outside the norms of their training and the protocols of that department or that agency.
But here's the main thing, because we can actually go past qualified immunity, because this is the place where you've refused to answer both on Donald Trump's accountability and on the law enforcement that you love so dearly.
Right.
What we know is that he's seeking full immunity, like the same immunity he now has because of the Supreme Court. Because of the corruption of the Supreme Court, we have now gone beyond civil presidential immunity to criminal presidential immunity. He would like to give that same immunity to law enforcement. True or false?
Well, let's expand that a couple
True
things.
or false?
You can't ask a
True-
true or false,
this is-
Angela,
this
because
is
you
a
got to
very
explain the
simple-
details. No, see, this is the
I
problem.
don't want you to explain the details because when you
Why
explain
you
the
don't
details,
want people
we
to
end
hear
up
the
down the road
details,
and not with
Angela?
the facts.
And that's part of the goddamn problem. Did you hear what she said? I don't want to hear the details. What? You don't want to hear the details? What? And that is the problem. Headlines and titles is all you want to see. You don't read the fine print. That's part of the problem with society these days, man. And hey, and listen, these news organizations know it. Have y'all ever like read an article where like the title said something, some big scandal or something, something major, but then you actually read the actual article itself and it almost says something completely different? Or if you read the whole article at the bottom, they're actually saying something completely different, right? It's just like, oh my goodness. That's why the details are important. But of course, folks like this woman don't care about the details, apparently. Sheesh.
Details are what are things that matter. You
What
gotta
I would
explain
like
the
for you to
details,
do
or
is
then you just
answer
talk. You're
true or
just
false
talking.
and then explain.
If
Can
you
do
don't,
that?
if you don't explain the details, then you're just talking.
Yeah, you don't want to say that because you know that it's not true. So
That
let's
is
just
not
move
true.
along.
You want a true or false statement,
Congressman, I want to know.
I don't want to argue with you. I want to explain the
racism in
facts.
this country.
Angela, I don't want to argue with you.
I would
wanna
like to
explain
know
the
if you've
facts.
ever experienced racism in this country, Congressman.
Yeah, actually, I have.
Okay. Do you believe America is a racist country?
No, I don't.
Okay, I believe that that's true because you said in an op-ed on Fox News, as a Black conservative, I, like Senator Scott, agree, and our two lives and the lives of many Black men and women like us are living proof that America is indeed no longer a racist nation and by far the best place to reach your fullest potential. And so here's my question. You did, however, vote to support the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, along with every member of the House except for 3 Republicans. So I appreciate your bipartisanship there. And what I do know as well, because America is in fact a racist country, was founded on such principles. Black men were lynched by the carceral state last week. I'm sure you've heard of Marcellus Williams by now in Missouri, who was convicted by.
Hold on, before she continues on with that, has America been racist in the past? Yes, we all know that. Duh. Is it racist today? No, and I could prove it. Barack Obama was president. Not once, but twice. Black people are what, 13% of the population? So black people alone couldn't elect Barack Obama. So what does that mean? That means a bunch of white people had to vote for him too. A black man. So if we're such a racist country, would white people have voted for a black guy to be president and run the place where all of these racist white people live? Not once, but twice. Would that have happened? I don't think so. All right. I've got more, but case is closed. I rest my case.
Nearly all white jury, and Freddie Owens in South Carolina, who was executed despite his friend recanting testimony that Owens was not in fact there. This is the same state, by the way, that allowed for a firing squad as an execution option. Black people are about 7.5 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder in the United States than are white folks, and about 80% more likely to be innocent than others convicted of murder, according to a 2022 report by the National Registry of Exonerations. So please tell me how America is not a racist country.
First thing I would say is that our past is a dark one. It really is. We can't walk away from that. We had whole laws that were subjugating black people in the South of this nation for decades after the Civil War. We can't walk away from that one. I believe that in America, we have great people in this country, and we have some people, quite frankly, that even I can't stand. But they're the vast, vast, vast minority of people in our country. Most people just want to live in harmony and peace. That's what they really want. I think the important thing to acknowledge today is what's going to help black people going forward. And what's going to help black people moving forward is economic policy. It's actually wide open energy policy so we can be energy dominant. It's, yes, securing our southern border because we have a situation right now where, yeah, there are more than 15 million illegal aliens in the country. Where do they reside? Mostly in sanctuary cities like New York. Where are they at? Sanctuary states like Illinois, like California. What's happening in those cities? Hospital systems are overrun. Why are they overrun? Because you have people in the country illegally who don't have resources, so they're going into the emergency room. What are they taking up? They're taking resources from poor people in our country, whether they're black, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're white. That's wrong. What about education? We have a situation where in too many inner cities, kids are not reading at grade level, or they don't have math skills at grade level. How does that help them excel and achieve? I don't want to discount what Angela is saying. I don't. I acknowledge the issue of our nation, but we always are trying to strive to be the more perfect union. So in 2024, what are the economic policies? What are the national security policies? What are the border security policies that are gonna make our country thrive? So whether you black, Hispanic, or white, you could thrive.
Why?
And so I think it's
So
important.
then would you have to say that if it wasn't a racist country, whether you're black, white, or Hispanic, you could thrive?
No.
Are we thriving? Are members in your state,
I would argue we're not really thriving right now. This inflation, which by the way was brought to us by Kamala Harris, has really slowed down people from being able to excel.
By Kamala?
Yes.
Vice president.
Oh, Charlemagne.
It's still a president.
Charlemagne, listen, man. When Joe Biden wanted to do his American Rescue Plan, Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate. She broke the tie that started this inflation that has hurt so many people in our country. Everybody listening to your show, it's not true?
First of all, it's
you sure you want to go there?
Tie-breaking vote.
You sure you want to go there?
Go outside, Congressman. When you go outside,
you sure you want to go there? Okay, let's go there.
You had it
You got
pretty
notes. You got notes, Angela, right?
That's fine. I have notes
I'm
too.
gonna give it
The
to
biggest note I
Charlemagne.
have today
I'm gonna give it to Charlemagne.
is that
I
on
don't
every
even wanna hold
question
it.
I've asked,
because Angela, hold on now.
for every infrastructure project in your community,
You can go to
should
third
go
page,
out
just the
and
highlighted
thank
portion.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Congress that voted for the American Rescue Plan.
Angela,
That's what should be happening.
Larry Summers wrote an op-ed back in 2021. Larry Summers was the Treasury Secretary for Bill Clinton. He was an economic advisor to Barack Obama. He said that the American Rescue Plan that Joe Biden wanted, that Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate, would create a massive inflation that we have not seen in a generation. Well, guess what? Larry Summers was correct. You know who also was correct, Angela? I was, because I was in the Budget Committee when they brought the bill. And I said in that committee, it's going to cause massive inflation. That's what happened. So the problem we have in our economy today is that prices have gone up massively. Wages adjusted for inflation is down. People's pocketbooks are hurting. But we have a presidential election in 40 days. So, and I'm gonna ask Envy this question. Envy, you're in the housing business as well. I know because I watch. I listen to the show.
Interviewed.
No, I'm just asking them a question. Chill, Angela. So I listen to the show. I know you do a lot of business in housing. Mm-hmm. Would you hire somebody that broke up stuff in one of your houses to fix the other houses?
No.
Exactly. She broke the economy.
I'm not going to do this morning, Byron.
Why are you not going to do this, Angela? Because I'm bringing facts. Hold on now. So now I'm bringing facts and you don't want to do it no more? Come on now, Angela. That's not right. I'm bringing facts.
All right. That's enough of that slaughterhouse, all right? It's enough. I mean, it goes on for longer, which if you want to watch the whole thing, it's a pretty good watch. But I want to go to the comment section because as you guys know, whenever anything big happens, I always go to the comments, whether that's on Instagram, if that's on Twitter, if that's on YouTube, I go to the comment section. That's what I want to see. I want to see the people's reaction. And yeah, here you can see, right? Here's the video. All right, actually, let me take myself off the screen. Wait. There we go. Okay. Shawty said she don't want to hear the details. Donkey of the day. Actually, I can put myself back on because I'm at the bottom. I'm not completely in the way. All right, so we good. And then let me make that a little bit bigger so y'all can see a little better. Okay. I don't want to know the details, and that's the main problem. ! I don't think they did their research. Byron cooks CNN on the regular. This is light work. Charlemagne read the paperwork and kept quiet. Hey, that's facts. I didn't even notice that. After Byron handed him those notes, Charlemagne didn't say anything afterwards, like for a while. He didn't want to release no smoke on Angela because I'm sure Byron has some crazy notes. Angela speaks so confidently for a person who is so ignorant of facts. He pulled that paperwork out regarding Kamala Harris' tie-breaking vote, ruined the economy. Angela moved right on to the next topic. She kept trying to change the subject. Or talk over him. The Breakfast Club is low-key creating more conservatives and Republicans. It's brilliant. I love when she told Byron he was lying about qualifying immunity. And then Charlemagne fact-checked her right there. Her face was... Every time he proved her wrong, she changed the topic. Hey, that's facts. She did. Angela's trying so hard to get that gotcha moment, but Byron knocked him out the park every time. He was about to make her look stupid with the full immunity statement, and she just changed the subject. She tried harder to win than just getting the truth out. She really hurt the show with her argumentative nature and desire to move the goalposts consistently. Angela is annoying button. Yeah, I'm like that. She is. Angela Rye just made me like this guy even more. As of now, it's 11,000 comments. I didn't read them all, but a large majority of people get it. I truly think people are waking up to the media and the fake news. Shout out to everyone who left a comment. MV, are you married to a black woman while the woman they're going hard for is married to a whole white man? Oh, man. Oh, woo. Hey, and listen, these comments they go on and on, y'all. They go on and on, 4-on-1, and he still cooked you know what. This interview makes me happy that I left the Democratic Party. Let's keep scrolling. Let's find a random one right here. Angela is a train wreck. Between her and Tez, I can't. Okay, let's scroll. A random one. Where'd he go? I'm super glad y'all got Byron Donald. Shouts out to him. Great conservative voice this platform needs. All right, let's find another random one. Come on, let's keep scrolling. Stop. Angela is so tired. How has January 6th impacted our lives? Please focus on the policies that impact our lives daily. Hold on, let's find one more. Let's see. Right here. We'll do this. Finally, someone intelligent who can hush up Angela. And y'all saw, I was just randomly pulling out comments. Just scroll, stop, pick one. Bro, their whole comment section is them getting roasted. Mainly Angela getting roasted. The entire comment section. Hold on, let me see. Let me scroll back to the top real quick. All 12,000 comments. It's probably not actually all 12,000. It's probably, 11,000 comments, and there's like 1,000 that are probably not even that many. It's probably 11,800. And maybe 200, right, are positive, which is why we didn't see any positive ones. Maybe y'all, if y'all want to slow the video down and try to catch a positive comment as I was scrolling, maybe, but I haven't seen one. Not a one. So I believe that is fantastic news. I know this video has gone on forever. I'm sorry, y'all. I typically don't make videos this long, but I just had to show y'all this, man, because just absolute train wreck. These folks on the Breakfast Club, and Byron Donalds held his own in a 3v1 or 4v1. And it was fantastic to see. And it's why Byron Donalds is on my personal short list for president come 2028. I've got Byron, I've got Larry Elder, I've got Vivek, and of course I got JD Vance. Comment below which one you guys prefer out of those four. I believe those four guys are probably going to be our best bet come 2028. Byron, Larry Elder, Vivek, and JD Vance. I kind of want to push Larry Elder to the front of the line because he's a bit older. He obviously doesn't have time on his side. The rest of the guys are pretty young. Byron, I believe, is in his 40s. Vivek is late 30s. JD Vance, I believe, is in his 40s, I believe. So all the rest of the guys are pretty young, but Larry Elder's obviously older. I want to say he's like in his 70s, Larry Elder. So yeah, Larry Elder would probably get pushed to the front of the line for me. But what say you? Stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.